How's it going, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be discussing my current training, nutrition, and herbal supplementation protocols and what I'm currently focusing on at this point, I guess, in my life. So basically, I'm currently training for really IBJJF, Austin, Texas, July 15th. Okay, that's going to be my first big competition as a blue belt. But before then, I have a tournament that I consider just a warm-up now, scheduled for April 29th. It's called Grappling Industries. And basically right now my focus is Grappling Industries. Now, I personally actually really love Grappling Industries as a tournament. It's actually the most fun tournament that I personally have ever competed in. And I've competed in a couple different tournaments. And I've been to, MMA competitions and stuff like that, ringside or, to support some of the fighters that I've trained, stuff like that. So I have quite a bit of experience inside different combat sports competitions. I compete in kickboxing for a long time. And so anyway, this is probably my favorite tournament. I really love Grappling Industries. And the only reason why I consider it a warm-up is because it allows me to, because generally you're guaranteed 4 different fights. The last time I competed at Grappling Industries, I beat all 4 of my opponents in convincing fashion, even though they're 15 pounds heavier than me. And so that's going to give me a lot of experience with different people. IBJJF is a single elimination tournament where if you lose in the first round, you just are eliminated, or any match that you lose, you don't progress to the next match or whatever. And so this is a great tournament to do to get you prepared for bigger tournaments. But I actually love Grappling Industries, and honestly, I might begin treating Grappling Industries like a bigger tournament, actually. Who knows, maybe I'll actually make Grappling Industries more popular at some point in time. Who knows? Maybe not. But anyway, so yeah, luckily I have a sponsorship right now. And I really appreciate my sponsor. He's awesome. Who's paying my way through registration and everything else. So that's awesome. It makes it a lot easier for me to train and not have to worry about, paying out of pocket and stuff. And so, Grappling Industries is on the 29th. So far, last time I checked, I only have one other person in my bracket. And I already know for a fact that I'll be able to beat him easily. And so right now, basically my training is I'm trying to morph my training around my my job schedule. So, for those who don't know, I work as a personal trainer and health consultant. And so I'm generally training or consulting with clients the majority of my day and sometimes on the weekends as well. And so I try to fit in my training when I can. And the best time for me to train right now is early mornings, 9 a.m. for the strength and conditioning and then 11:30 for jiu-jitsu. But I've been able to sneak in some 6 p.m. sessions lately, which is one of my favorite classes, actually. And so, so my philosophy right now is get a lot of high quality sparring in with partners who will put up a challenge and put up a lot of effort and defense, but allow me to work my techniques and stuff like that. Not them allowing me, but their level is that such that they're not impossible for me to actually work my game on. They are good enough to know how to defend and make it hard for me, but and they're at a level that is realistic to the competition I'm going to be against. But but they're not so good that I can't do the sweeps I want, do the chokes I want, and stuff like that. And so that's really important to be able to train in a realistic fashion, but at the same time allow you to actually work the techniques you want. Because I found one of the fastest ways that I've improved, and I think most high level performers have found this as well, is you need to train with people who make it just challenging enough to where you can get into a flow state, but not so challenging that you're just getting smashed the whole time. Because you fight the way you practice. And a lot of people make the mistake of just training with the hardest people possible, balls to the wall. And obviously, number one, they are generally the people that get injured all the time and they get burnt out. And the other thing is, if you're always training with people that are way better than you, they're usually just smashing you the whole time. And unless they go easy on you, in which case it's not even realistic at that point. And so you're practicing getting smashed, and it just doesn't make any sense. If you're trying to win a competition, and you're trying to win a competition by imposing your game plan and dominating, then when you're training, you need to practice imposing your game plan and maybe dominating to a point, obviously, because if you're just smashing someone else, then at that point it's obviously too easy. But yeah, you want to. That's the problem. Like, especially even higher level competitors, they freak out and they're like, no, you need to like walk through the fire and crazy shit like that. But no, you need to train at the right balance, you know. So yeah, people that you can work your techniques on, but they could just as easily turn things around on you. And there's like a balanced level of skill. Maybe they're a little bit less than you, but they put more effort into things. Okay. So yeah, and people that just try really, really hard and just are really aggressive when they shouldn't be or for no reason, those are typically not the best people either. Unless you're trying to work how to stay calm under pressure. Because generally all you got to do is relax and breathe and let them make mistakes, and eventually they'll actually sweep themselves, submit themselves, stuff like that. Their aggression becomes their own demise. Anyway, and it's interesting because I've been to some gyms where the motto is just go as hard as you can and always try to compete against your teammates, and even at the higher belt levels in some of those gyms, because they're always so focused on winning the role, they typically have the same sloppy mistakes every time you roll with them. They never actually get cleaner, never actually get more technical or better. And it's a lot easier to actually win against them, because when they roll, it's always 100%. And so when you're going 100%, you're basically just performing whatever techniques you've already practiced and defined, rather than being able to see new opportunities when they present themselves, or to clean up to focus a little bit more on cleaner execution and being patient. If you're just focused on submitting people as fast as possible and training and shit like that, you're only going to stay beating the same people for a very long time with the same sloppy technique. So that's something that I recognized when I was training for Grappling Industries a year ago. So that's a big thing that I do. And what that looks like is basically, so I'll roll with black belts a lot. I love rolling with black belts because I get a lot of higher intensity training with somebody who's really got good technique at whatever it is that they do. Some of them, they just will be very good at the basics. Like they have a really basic close guard, just taking me off balance and just sweeping me with a basic scissor sweep or hip bump sweep, crazy enough, or trying to get me in a triangle. And then when they get on top, they just stay as heavy as they can with a very solid, like, full mount posture to where it's extremely hard to get out because they know how to grapevine the legs and stuff like that. And so that's a good time to work on very basic defensive stuff and just really refining the details. Whereas with like purple belts, blue belts, and white belts, you don't have to be that perfect with the details because they're pretty damn sloppy and their technique's not that polished, right? Black belts can just stay on top of you in the very most basic techniques and forms and be very, very good at keeping you there. So, and generally, the more advanced in skill the practitioner is I'm training with, the more calm I am, and the more I just kind of feel their technique. Because every time I train, my mind is acquiring new information. So I'm feeling their hand position, I'm feeling their weight distribution. What are their feet doing with my feet? I'm really trying to be in my body and just feel things. Some people don't like that. Some people, I don't want to say anything specific, but people that are very out of shape want to just stay on top of you and want you to just gas yourself out trying to spaz out of the position. But I'm there to train. I'm like not there to gas myself out with inefficient technique. And so, but a lot of people, even high level belts in jiu-jitsu, especially the ones that are out of shape, that's like the only sport they've ever done, so they don't understand skill acquisition. But that's how blue belts like Nicky Rod, for example, can get light years better in a short amount of time compared to, black belts who have been training for a long time. It's not the number of years that you just show up to training. It's the amount of intentional practice that you get when you do show up. It's the quality, not the quantity. So, but people don't know what quality is. They think quality means just beating the shit out of your partner and leaving with war scars. But that's not the way it is. So anyway, it's a lot of philosophical, principle-based training, if that makes sense. And so on days where I'm feeling really good and really fresh, I'll go in and I'll roll with a bunch of blue belts and just go ham. On days where I'm feeling kind of moderate or days where I'm feeling really good, I'll roll with the black belts. Black belts usually are best for moderate days because they make me work. They make me, sweat a lot. They make me move, or they make me sweat a lot and breathe a lot while I can't do shit. And so it's not this like fight for my life like it is with a lot of like the crazy blue belts and white belts especially. It's more so like a game of chess is how it feels with black belts every time. Sometimes the game is really fast-paced. Sometimes it's really slow-paced. So it's more moderate, and it's more mental and kind of like defensive, pain-enduring, if that makes sense. With blue belts, though, it could either be just me smashing them and then them spazzing on bottom, or it could be a fight for my life where they just are doing everything they can to try to like win. So, jiu-jitsu is an interesting thing, and the only reason why I'm able to see it this way is because I'm a coach myself, and I've been a trainer of skills, personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach, and I, taught kickboxing for a short period of time for many, many years. And so luckily I'm able to see effective training versus ineffective training and how you should really allocate your energy. But I've noticed it's usually just the people that have never done an actual sport before, who just don't understand the importance of staying calm and, training at an 8 out of a 10 rather than a 10 out of 10 all the time. Anyway, other days I might do pass or sweep from close guard and really focus on the most basic techniques that I know for a fact I'm planning to use at Grappling Industries. And another thing is in IBJJF, the thing is, if you accidentally put your hand in the wrong place, if you accidentally put your fingers inside of their gi, then you can get disqualified. And that happened to me last July. So it's really important that we're not doing new techniques that we might make a mistake on in competition time. Contrary to what a lot of people tell you, they tell you do new things all the time and learn 1,000 techniques. And for me, I've definitely found it's the man who does one technique 1,000 times that is more efficient than the man who does 1,000 techniques once. So that's something that, so in closed guard, I focus on taking the back, doing the back takes that I've been developing for 2 years now, actually, well, over a year now, and just progressing the techniques that I've already got momentum towards, and then finding new techniques that kind of chain off those techniques. Some back takes lead to chokes, some back takes lead to arm bars. Sometimes the back take, I fail the back take and I can't take the back all the way, but I notice that the person, while they're trying to pass my guard while I'm back taking them, I can grab their leg and sweep them in the middle of the back take. So it's not as cut and clear as, you got to learn this technique perfectly and this and that. Imperfect techniques often turn into new opportunities that you could chain other techniques off of. I've seen one, like in one of my tournaments, I was trying to take the back and I had an arm bar, but because I didn't practice an arm bar much, I didn't take the arm bar. But sometimes that happens. Sometimes you can get a triangle or an arm bar from a back take, from closed guard we're talking about. So anyway, doing a lot of positional sparring is important. Having somebody start on top of me in full mount is amazing because then I get really, really confident escaping full mount. Having somebody start in my closed guard is great because then I can get really good at techniques from closed guard. What a lot of people don't understand is, you're going to spend a lot of time in a very small quantity of positions. Hopefully, ideally, you're going to spend a lot of time in mutual positions like closed guard or standing or open guard. Hopefully, you're not spending a lot of time on bottom and full mount or with your back taken. But the more time you spend in these basic positions and really dial down with realistic training, but it's controlled and you reset in the same position, the better you'll get from those positions. Like when I was a white belt, I sucked because all I ever did was just spar regularly. And that's how I see most people training, and most of them just quit because it's just too much and they don't know what the fuck to do when they are in closed guard or whatever. And so focusing your training on one aspect of the game is very important. Once I started to do pass or sweep from closed guard, a lot of people, they couldn't take it. Like their ego, it hurt them. They're like, oh, you just want to win because you're so good at closed guard. Or they'll be like, no, let's just do full sparring. And it was funny to me when I go to other gyms and I'd have them start my closed guard because they're crazy usually, especially as a white belt. And they're like, no, I don't want to start in your closed guard. You just want to do that because you're going to win. And I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, okay, well then we'll start standing. And we start standing, and then I immediately pin their head down to the mat and then spin around and take their back and choke them out with a bow and arrow. I'm like, this is why I want to start in closed guard because it's actually harder for me to choke you out. So yeah, people's egos and their lack of intention just prevents them from training effectively. So anyway, so yeah, it's all about intentional training, positional sparring. Very rarely might I really need to flow roll and do technique. These days I'm wondering if maybe a rest day would be better in that case. Especially because a lot of people, they'll say they'll flow roll with you and then they'll get pissy, and they'll even brown belts and higher belts, and they can't flow. It's really a little annoying. But anyway, So strength training right now, because I'm 4 weeks out. I was doing a lot of volume. I was doing like 5 sets of 10. So I would work up to a top set AMRAP, and I was doing like a Widowmaker afterwards, like back down set, and then sets of 10 with an opposing main movement. So like on squat days, I do deadlifts. On bench press days, I do overhead press. And I was doing a ton of high rep sets with accessories, lat pull downs, freaking rows, you name it. I was doing like 100-pound dumbbells on dumbbell rows for like sets of 30, and lat pull downs with like 130 pounds for like sets of 20 to 30, for grip strength and grip endurance and stuff. But recently I have decided I kind of switched to a double progression, linear progression, which is basically I'm starting at 75% of my 1 rep max. Today's actually the very first day I'm going on this program. And I've done it before. It's an amazing program. So starting with 75%, because that's the very kind of low range of where strength gains are most productive. Anything you do in the 75% range is going to contribute to strength gains, as long as you're going close enough to failure on one set. So it's 2 sets of 5 at 75%, and then you use that same weight for as many reps as possible. And then depending on how many reps you get, you just add 2.5 to 5 pounds on upper body lifts and 5 to 10 pounds on lower body lifts. And you progress it. And I'm rotating squat and bench press on one day, and then deadlift and overhead press on the other. And I also have snatch on my squat days and power cleans on my deadlift days. And everything is done 2 sets straight, and then use that same weight for as many reps as possible on the last set. And then I have strict bent over barbell rows, just 1 set as many reps as possible. And then pull-ups on the alternate day. So it's higher frequency than the last program, but it's lower volume. And I'm focusing all of my kind of intention on peaking that AMRAP set. And so I have it, and it's kind of weird because I was doing so much more volume before. I was doing like at least 10 sets on the main movement before per day. So it turns out to 10 to maybe 15 or 20 sets, about 20 sets per muscle group or more per week. But now it's all about progressing that AMRAP set. And so I have it set up to where by Grappling Industries, I will be hitting like 85% of my 1 rep max for a set of 10 is kind of the plan. So something like that. And the key, though, that people need to understand is just like with jiu-jitsu training, strength training, training is not a performance. So by the time Grappling Industries comes around, during my training sets, I'll be hitting 85% of my 1 rep max for sets of 10. But that's just during training. That's not my actual, like if I actually took after a deload week, if I came back and I peaked for it, my 10 rep max would probably be a lot more. So you're building strength with these volume sets, but the actual performance and expression of strength is a lot higher than what you're training with. Because I could already hit a 10 rep max with close to 80 to 85% of most of my lifts. So, but that's only without cumulative stress. The way I'm kind of building up and linearly progressing this, there's going to be cumulative stress that interferes with that, which is only building the top end strength higher, the ceiling higher. So a little bit on my nutrition and herbs. Actually, I'll make another video about that because I got to get going. This is a nice little kind of introduction to what I'm doing right now. I'll talk a little bit more in depth later. Have a great day, everybody. Let me know in the comments what you want to hear from me, and I'll talk to you all next time.